Welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrin Fitznoid. I'm a local real estate agent here in Sarasota County. And today's video, we're going to analyze what's going on in the Sarasota housing market. Certainly there are a lot of negative news headlines that have made their way around town, around the internet over the last few months. And absolutely, some of them are true. Some of them are blown out of proportion, especially because they're not very precise. And so I've delved into the data in order to better understand what's going on and where are the opportunities. And so if you're somebody that's looking to purchase or you're looking to sell, this video is for you because it's really going to equip you to win in today's market. Certainly this market is not like it was 2 or 3 years ago, but you still have an opportunity to maximize based on efficient strategies moving forward. And I'll go as far as to say that this is going to be the deepest, most profound Sarasota housing market presentation that's probably been done in a long time on YouTube and just online in general. So it's going to be pretty insightful. Now let's review one of the news headlines that was actually sent to me by lots of you viewers and also my family members. It came out just a few weeks ago. And here it is. Sarasota-Manatee home values tumble, marking one of the biggest drops nationwide. And this is actually Zillow home value. Sarasota County is at -7% and only gets worse if you move over to the left, which is Charlotte County at -8%. You're thinking, yeah, Sarasota is crashing. And that is partially true. Let's get into the data. First off, it's important to note that when we talk about Sarasota County, there are quite a few different cities that are lumped into this data. And each one of these cities is going to fare a little bit differently. So when we're talking about Sarasota, it's important that we only look at Sarasota numbers. Sarasota County is comprised of incorporated cities, Sarasota, Venice, Northport, Longboat Key, and actually just part of Longboat Key. Then the unincorporated communities are going to be Osprey, Nokomis, and part of Englewood. So to better understand what each one of these cities is doing independently from kind of the overall Sarasota County analysis, we must break down the information. And looking at the information by city then, Sarasota, Venice, Northport, Osprey, Nokomis, we can see percentage change. And this is for March 2025 versus same time last year. They're all in the negative for the exception of Nokomis, and the explanation here is that Nokomis had hardly any condo sales, mostly single-family home sales in March, and so that really helped establish that number being positive. Everything else is in the negative. Let's compare Venice to Sarasota, and this is really driving the point that each city is going to be doing a little bit differently. We're going to look at this now by property type. So we're really drilling down on the data. Single family homes is down by almost 12%. This is again March 2025 versus same time last year. Condos are down by -12% and townhomes are down by almost -50%. The reason why townhomes, that percentage change is so high is just because of the fact that there were a small number that was sold in 2025. So the price fluctuation is really not statistically significant. But key takeaway of this slide is that all property types in Venice are down by quite a bit. Now let's look at that same information for the Sarasota area. Single family homes, the percentage change is not even 1%. 0.90%. Condos is down by -33% almost, and townhomes by -5%. Single family homes are doing just fine for now in Sarasota. I will say that the condo market is crashing right now in Sarasota, and there are some true reasons for that. How has buyer activity changed over the last few years? Let's look at this trend line. This is for Sarasota. It's April 2023 to March of 2025. And you can see here that we peaked in terms of unit sales, so homes sold, back in May of 2024. And then it dipped just around Q3, Q4 last year. And that coincides with the hurricane season, all these storms that came through here. And buyers waited, they sat on the sidelines. And then they came back out right around the end of the year, right? Because the unit sales activity peaked in March of 2025. So we have to kind of go back in time to estimate when a lot of these homes kind of went under contract, when buyers came into town. And I would say it was right around December, maybe January. So there's this peak in March of 2025. And really the question is, was that just pent up energy? Or is this activity, which is now heightened, here to stay? And we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next few months. Now we're going to look at the same trend line, but just comparing the median sales price for Sarasota. And remember that there's going to be 3 product types grouped into this information: single family homes, condos, and townhomes. So what we're looking at is the median sales price trend in Sarasota, and the time period here is April 2023 through March of 2025. And during that time period, the median price for Sarasota peaked at $605,000, and it was at its lowest during that time period in February of 2025. And now it's starting to creep back up again. Of course, the question is, what will happen in the next few months? But when we look at single family homes only, the percentage change was not drastic. Remember, it wasn't even 1% for March of 2025. So the median price right now for Sarasota is declining because of condo median sales price going down. So which one of these property types is selling more and which one is actually down? Looking at property types, single family home, condos, and townhomes. Single family homes are essentially holding, so just as many bought in Q1 of this year versus same time last year. Condos though, condo sales are down by minus 20%, almost 21%. And then townhomes are actually up by 61%. Townhomes, the activity is actually increasing, and I believe it's because of those buyers that would have been interested to purchase a condo. Many of them are now seeing it as a risky investment. Instead, they're looking into townhomes. This chart here is just a very nice visual interpretation of how market share is changing. Townhouses is in purple, single family homes is in red, condominiums is in orange, and you can see condo market share is down 27 to 22%. Single family homes is actually up slightly, but then townhouses is up by 4% to almost 7%. That's the total mix. In a balanced market, you would want to have anywhere from 5 to 6 months of supply. Looking at these different property types then, and looking at months of inventory for March of 2025, single family homes is kind of in the middle there. So I would consider it balanced. And you may look at this and you say, Katrin, but why are there so many price cuts? Well, there's a reason for it. And we have to look at price tiers because each one of them is going to perform very differently. Condo market is crashing, like I said, and months of inventory is over 11. Prices will continue to come down in the condo market. Townhomes though, 3.75 months of inventory. There's also more interest now in the townhome market. Key takeaway here is that more and more people are wanting townhouses. Not as many are opting into condos. The single family home category is really kind of maintaining itself, but proportionally here, the majority is still looking to purchase a single family home. Single family homes is what we sell the most of. Looking at the pricing change, it's barely gone down for March. Percentage change is almost 1%. Median price now for a single family home in Sarasota is $550,000. Now, a lot of you question, how can people still afford these prices in the Sarasota market? Well, we're getting a lot of folks that are coming from up north, from the West Coast. They may be baby boomers, they have plenty of cash saved up, and looking at this is drawing from raw MLS data. In Q1 of this year, almost 50% were cash purchases of single family homes, and then 40% conventional mortgages. Every other person is a cash buyer in the Sarasota market right now for single family homes. If the median price for single family homes is essentially holding, why are we seeing so many price cuts in the market? Well, to better understand what's happening, we got to look at the price tier performance. Looking at Sarasota single family homes percentage change by price tier, and this is unit sales, for Q1 of this year versus same time last year, we can see that more single family homes under 300,000 actually sold by over 5%. And then once we get into the 301 to 500K, essentially, it was up by 12%. And these are probably investors coming in trying to snag more affordable single family homes. But what is interesting to note, and this is here in red, it's down by minus 32%. That is the price tier 500 to 750K that has seen a massive decline in terms of unit sales. So a massive decline in terms of buyers coming in wanting to purchase in that price tier. And I believe it's driven by the fact that the mortgage interest rates are just not where they were anticipated to be last year in this year. And buyers are probably just waiting for the mortgage interest rates to come down. That price tier is very much reliant on the mortgage interest rate to be favorable. And that's where we're seeing the majority of the price cuts, homes in that price tier. But once we get into the luxury market, let's just say that's 1.5 million and up, we've seen a 57% increase of sales, and then over 2 million, over 16% more. So it's the luxury buyers again, most of which are going to be cash buyers. And with the luxury buyer, the median price is pushed up and is right now relatively level to where it was last year. Looking at months of supply, we said for the single family home category, it was relatively balanced because it's kind of in between that 5 to 6 months of supply. As a matter of fact, in March, it was 5.19 months of supply. That's actually a drop from February where it was much higher, and that's because we just had a lot of sales happening in March, and so that kind of ate into the months of supply. The big key takeaway here is if that months of supply does creep back up again, then prices will come down. They're going to soften. What's true is that there's more homes on the market, there's fewer buyers, and the selling time is much longer. And so that is, if you're a buyer, providing you with much more negotiation power, especially when compared to 2 or 3 years ago. There's certain areas in Sarasota where homes are just sitting on the market for a long period of time and prices are continuing to come down. Here we're comparing Q1 of this year to the same time last year to see how the median price fluctuate. And what's interesting to note is that those locations or zip codes that are considered more coastal, they're seeing a median price decline. 34236 is essentially downtown, Bird Key, Lido, and St. Armand Circle. Siesta Key is 34242, and you can see that the decline in median price is over 20%. And then once we get into the green, we're getting into Palma Ranch, so that's just a little bit further removed from the coast. Gulf Gate as well, the Meadows, west of 75, but more inland. Then there's Waterside Place, not surprising, right? Lakewood Ranch. A lot of new construction. Sales are not going to be captured in this, so this is strictly just data from the MLS. But directionally speaking, it does paint a nice picture of what we really do believe is happening here. There's only one anomaly, and that is 34239. This is much more coastal. It's right by the bay, Harbor Acre. And really what's happened here is that luxury sales happened in Q1 of this year versus same time last year, right? Luxury buyers are still coming to this market here. They've got the cash. And so that is really kind of skewed this data. The average buyer is looking to move further away from the coast, especially into places such as Lakewood Ranch and Sky Ranch. Single family homes are going to go under contract much faster than condos because it's also much less of a risky play here. And so right now it's taking on average 63 days for a home that's on the market to go pending, to go under contract. And so, for example, if you're a seller and you currently have a home that's been on the market for over 100 days, 150 days, most likely than not, that's going to be a pricing issue, especially if there's nothing else that could put pressure on the value of the house. I wanted to be able to predict where we could anticipate the home prices to come down for the single family home category by zip code in Sarasota. And so I looked at March data, months of supply, plugged it into this chart here by zip code, and you could see that coastal areas right here, Lido, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, have massive amounts of supply. And so we can anticipate coastal area prices to come down. If you're just curious about cost per square foot by zip code, let's look at this chart here, which clearly indicates that if you go coastal, even though it's a riskier area, it's also considered still a prime location. And so cost per square foot is still higher than any other place. Certainly it's come down, but it's still higher, especially 34236, which is kind of the downtown Bird Key area. Once you start going more inland, still being west of 75, cost per square foot goes down. And once you jump over to the other side into Waterside, for example, which is 34240, the cost per square foot on average is 440. If you're east of 75, say Sky Ranch, then it's just going to be a little bit more affordable. This chart, though, gives you a good idea. If you're interested in single family homes and you're budget conscious, you could look at this chart here and start shopping by zip code. Let's move into the Sarasota condo market. What you really need to know, if you're somebody that's shopping for a condo right now, or maybe you're even selling, you have to understand that the Surfside Bill, which was passed just a few years ago in response to the Surfside building that collapsed in Miami where 98 people died, is changing the condo market, not just in Sarasota, but in Florida as a whole. The Surfside Bill, which is also known as the SB 4D, is applicable towards those condos and co-ops that are 3 stories and higher. So that's important to note, 3 stories and higher, not 2 stories, not 1 story. They have to go through a milestone inspection if the building's age is reaching 30 or 25 years of age, if it's closer to the coast. And with that, during this milestone inspection, they will focus on structural safety issues such as the roof, the foundation, load-bearing systems. And the result of this inspection has to be provided to not just the condo association, but to owners and buyers. And so condo association can no longer say, oh, you know what, we're going to do you a favor, homeowners, we're not going to increase the assessments, because, yeah, you don't want to spend any more money. Sure, there's repair work that needs to happen, but we're just not going to do it right now. That can't happen anymore. So whatever comes out of the inspection report, if there's work that needs to be done on the condo, the reserves have to be funded accordingly. And so what's happening is that a lot of these condo associations, owners are being hit with high assessment costs, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. That's not even counting the condo fees that are going up as well. Not all condo buildings, I want to say, but certainly there's been some really bad case examples that has made its way through the news headlines. And of course, naturally, buyers are a bit worried, and they should be, because you could get into a situation where you could be slammed with high assessment costs and not having prepared accordingly. So just be aware that this is happening right now, and that's one of the reasons why the condo market is crashing here in Sarasota. So looking at Sarasota's condo prices, median price for March of last year to this year, it's actually changed by minus 33%. So yes, the condo market in Sarasota is in free fall right now, and I don't believe that we've seen the bottom yet. And to really prove my point that it's those older condos that are driving the decline, what I've done is I looked at raw MLS data, and I've looked at it by year built of the condo, and it's the ones right here before 1990. You can see the steep decline. This is unit sales. So far less sales happening here for these older condos. How long has it taken for a condo to actually go under contract? Right now, it's approximately 81 days. And so if you're seeing a condo that's been on the market for, say, 150 days, 200 days, it typically is a pricing issue, or perhaps there's more to know and you need to dig in deeper, but that is a red flag. Let's talk about buyer and seller opportunities. So if you're a buyer in the market, what are the opportunities for you right now? First off, if you're targeting a condo and the condo falls within the Surfside Bill, so it's 3 stories or higher and it's older, I would make sure that you have not just the inspection report ready, but also the reserve side, because then you have all the information you need to make a much better decision of, okay, I still am interested in this condo, but also what should the offer price be? If you're interested in a single family home, you know, versus 3 years ago, you have a much better chance of negotiation. You want to look at how long the home has been on the market, what is the inventory kind of around in that neighborhood. Is the home that you're interested in very well priced? That's going to give you power to negotiate while also relying on credible information to give you substance for the negotiation price. You would want to prioritize move-in ready homes versus fixer-upper if neither really made a difference to you, because in most cases a newer home is going to be much more economical for you. And if you're looking for bang for the buck and you want it to be on the other side of 75, then look below Lakewood Ranch in an area we call east of 75. There are going to be much better value opportunities there. Now, if you're a seller, you have to understand who your competition is. If you have a very unique home and it's just one of a kind, then you can be much more aggressive with your pricing strategy. But if you're one amongst many other homes in that neighborhood that is on the market and all the homes are relatively similar to each other, you're going to have to be competitively priced in order to move that home. If you have a home already on the market and it's been sitting there for 150 days, more likely than not, it's going to be a pricing issue. And so if you want to sell, you're going to have to reduce that price. Also, if you're looking to sell a home, make sure it's just well staged. You have nice furniture in there. It shows beautifully. You know, people can see themselves living there, so you would want to declutter it. If you have kind of fancy coloring on the walls or wallpaper, you know, I would just neutralize the walls. One of the best things you can do is to repaint the inside of your home in a very neutral color, white color, and that will go so far. It'll also give the home a refresh. And so as a seller of a home, there's a lot more you're going to have to do now in order to be able to compete with all these other homes that are currently on the market. And then lastly, as a seller, you're going to want to be as transparent as possible, not just disclose the upgrades that were done in the home, but also if the home had, say, a leak, just make sure that the buyer knows it. Anything that could materially affect the value of the house, make sure the buyer knows that information up front. It goes pretty far in building that trust, but also it's information that legally you should be supplying to the buyer. Buyers are probably going to do an inspection report anyways, and there's a lot that can get uncovered. If you really wanted to get ahead of the curve, get an inspection done on your home before you even put it on the market and clean up anything that comes out of the inspection report. That's going to give you so much confidence listing your home, knowing that once you go into contract and the buyer is going to pull in their inspector, really nothing is going to come out of it. That's also going to give you much more power in terms of negotiation when it comes to the price. Then what will happen to the Sarasota housing market in 2025? What's certain is that there's a lot of uncertainty right now. But what's also certain is that the condo market is in free fall, and we can expect the median price in the condo market to continue to decline. I think that's going to take some time to really kind of play out. But when it comes to geopolitically, the tariffs, you know, Canadians, will they be buying in the Sarasota market or not? That's going to have an impact, and we're going to have to just wait and see how, you know, all of this is going to kind of play out. Canadians are the #1 international buyers in Florida, and so if most of them decide not to purchase here anymore, well, yeah, that's going to have an effect on demand for not just condos but single family homes, but also tariffs. If tariffs stick around and they impact material costs that really drive new construction costs, then we can expect new construction homes to increase in price. Builders are pretty quick to react, and so what they probably would do is increase the price, but just build less over time. Also, when it comes to the stock market, if the stock market crashes, hopefully it won't, but if it does, well, luxury buyers are very much in tune with their stock market portfolio, and so if the value goes down, it's realistic to anticipate them to not purchase that second luxury home, or maybe, you know, purchase a luxury home to begin with. So the luxury market is going to see a softening in demand. But now if the 10-year yield goes down, the mortgage interest rates are very much tied to what happens to the 10-year yield. If it goes down, then likely that the mortgage interest rates go down as well. And so if that happens, then the price tier that is right around $500,000 to $800,000, those homes that fall within the tier could see actually more demand. How it overall plays into the median price, you know what? only time will tell. I'll be doing a market update video very soon just to kind of see where things are headed. If you're somebody that's in the market to either purchase or sell, I would love to be able to team up with you. You can reach me anytime. We can jump on a Zoom call, or you can meet me in person. We can see how we can work together. Thank you so much for watching today. I always appreciate when you do. If you have any questions, email me, especially in relations to this deck here. I know it was a lot of data. Thank you again. Take care.